The hallowed halls of Harvard University, a place synonymous with academic freedom and intellectual pursuit, have long stood as a beacon of excellence and innovation. Now, they find themselves at the heart of a political firestorm. The Trump administration, in an unprecedented move, has frozen a staggering $2.3 billion in federal funding to the university, sending shockwaves through the academic community. This clash of titans stems from Harvard's staunch refusal to comply with a series of demands issued by the administration, demands that many see as an overreach of executive power. These demands, steeped in controversy, have ignited a fierce debate about the limits of executive power, the sanctity of academic independence, and the very future of higher education in America. Scholars and students alike are voicing their concerns. This high-stakes standoff is about much more than just dollars and cents. It represents a fundamental conflict over the values that underpin our educational institutions. It strikes at the very core of what universities represent in a free society: the ability to pursue knowledge without undue influence, to foster critical thinking, and to challenge the status quo. The academic community is rallying to defend these principles. The outcome of this battle has far-reaching implications, not just for Harvard, but for the entire landscape of higher education in the United States. The stakes have never been higher, and the world is watching closely. The Trump administration's demands on Harvard are wide-ranging and strike at the heart of the university's autonomy. One of the most contentious demands revolves around the monitoring and reporting of foreign students, particularly those hailing from nations deemed adversarial to U.S. interests. The administration insists that Harvard implement stricter scrutiny of these students, raising concerns about potential espionage and intellectual property theft. Further fueling the controversy are demands to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, initiatives that have long been central to Harvard's efforts to create a more inclusive campus environment. The administration argues that these programs promote reverse discrimination and sow division rather than unity. Additionally, the administration has called for a complete overhaul of Harvard's hiring and admissions practices, particularly those concerning international students. This, they argue, is necessary to ensure fairness and prevent any potential bias against American citizens. Harvard President Alan Garber, in a scathing rebuke of the administration's demands, denounced them as an egregious overreach of executive authority. Garber, in no uncertain terms, stated that the university would not be bullied into sacrificing its core principles of academic freedom and institutional autonomy. He characterized the demands as a blatant attempt to dictate the university's curriculum, control its research agenda, and silence dissenting voices on campus. Central to Harvard's defense is the argument that the government's demands represent an unprecedented intrusion into the affairs of a private institution. They argue that the federal government, while providing funding, cannot and should not dictate the inner workings of a university, particularly when it comes to matters of academic freedom, free speech, and institutional governance. This, they argue, sets a dangerous precedent that could have a chilling effect on academic freedom across the nation. Section 4. The Price of Defiance. $2.30 billion in Limbo. The immediate consequence of Harvard's defiance is stark: a $2.3 billion funding freeze that throws into jeopardy a vast array of research projects, scholarships, and academic programs. This funding, which represents a significant portion of Harvard's operating budget, supports everything from cutting-edge medical research to vital financial aid for low-income students. The loss of these funds, if prolonged, could have a devastating impact on the university's ability to carry out its mission. The funding freeze has sent shockwaves through the Harvard community, leaving students, faculty, and staff grappling with uncertainty about the future. Researchers are left wondering if their groundbreaking work will continue, while students from disadvantaged backgrounds face the prospect of losing the financial support they desperately need to pursue their education. Section 5. Echoes of Reprisal. Columbia University and the Crosshairs. Harvard's plight is not an isolated incident. The reverberations of administrative actions are being felt across the Ivy League, in a move eerily reminiscent of the crackdown on the esteemed institution. Columbia University, another Ivy League giant, found itself in the administration's crosshairs just weeks earlier. The parallels between the two cases are striking and unsettling. Colombia, accused of fostering a hostile environment rife with anti-Semitism, was stripped of a staggering $400 million in federal funding. This financial blow has sent shockwaves through the academic community. This move, widely condemned by free speech advocates, sent a chilling message to universities across the nation: toe the line or face the consequences. The implications for academic freedom are profound. The administration's actions against Columbia, like those against Harvard, stem from accusations of anti-Semitism on campus, particularly in relation to pro-Palestinian protests. These protests have become a flashpoint for broader political tensions. Critics, however, argue that these accusations are often overblown and used as a pretext to silence legitimate criticism of Israeli policies. They believe that the true target is the freedom of expression. They contend that the administration is weaponizing anti-Semitism to punish universities that don't align with its political ideology. This has sparked a fierce debate about the boundaries of free speech and the role of universities in political discourse. Section 6. The administration's justification, a question of anti-Semitism. The Trump administration, in defense of its actions, points to what it perceives as a pervasive culture of anti-Semitism within the hallowed halls of these elite institutions. They cite incidents of alleged harassment and discrimination against Jewish students, particularly those who express support for Israel. This, they argue, creates a hostile environment that infringes upon the civil rights of Jewish students and undermines their right to an education free from fear and intimidation. The Department of Education, in a statement echoing the administration's stance, argues that federal funding comes with strings attached. Universities, they contend, have a moral and legal obligation to ensure that their campuses are free from discrimination and harassment. Failure to do so, they argue, justifies the withholding of federal funds. Section 7. The battle ahead, legal challenges and wider implications. The battle between Harvard and the Trump administration is far from over. This conflict has captured the attention of legal scholars, educators, and policymakers across the nation. Legal experts predict a protracted legal battle, one that could ultimately end up before the Supreme Court. The stakes are monumental, with both sides preparing for a long and arduous fight. The outcome of this legal showdown has the potential to redefine the relationship between the federal government and institutions of higher learning, with implications that extend far beyond the ivy-covered walls of Harvard Yard. It could set a precedent for future interactions between government and academia. The stakes in this battle are incredibly high. Both sides are aware that the consequences of this case will resonate for years to come. If the Trump administration prevails, it could embolden other administrations to exert greater control over universities, potentially stifling academic freedom and critical thinking. This could lead to a chilling effect on scholarly research and discourse. Conversely, a victory for Harvard could serve as a bulwark against government overreach and reaffirm the crucial role of universities as bastions of free thought and intellectual inquiry. It would send a strong message about the importance of maintaining academic independence. The world, it seems, is watching as this battle over the soul of American higher education unfolds. The outcome will undoubtedly shape the future of academic freedom and governance in the United States.